When playing first-person shooters, you've probably noticed how a lot of players come jumping around corners and finishing you off before you even had time to react. Chances are, most of these people have some kind of external jump button that allows them to keep their fingers on the joysticks at all times while still being able to jump. In this video, I'll show you a super cheap way to add your own external buttons to the DualSense 5 controller. First off, you're gonna need your PlayStation 5 controller. You're gonna need a tiny flathead and Phillips screwdriver, some thin cables, a soldering iron, some soldering wire, a glue gun, a drill with a tiny drill bit, and a button of your choice. In this case, a 12 by 12mm tactile switch. Using your flathead screwdriver, pry open this black cover piece, starting here in the back, and then work your way up until the cover comes off. Now, use your screwdriver to pop out the L1 and R1 button. Now use your Phillips head screwdriver to remove the two screws here. Flip your controller around and remove the two screws in the back as well. Now take your flathead screwdriver and pry open these two tabs right here. Then start to gently pry open the case until it comes completely off. Now it's time to remove the battery. Now remove this microphone piece right here. Take your Phillips screwdriver and remove the battery tray. Reinsert the screw from the battery tray just to keep everything in place. Now locate this line of tiny circles right here. You see all of these points holds a signal for each button, and in my case we're going to be using the X button. Now try to scrape off the material inside the circle of the button you want to connect to. Try not to scrape off as much material and try to stay within the circle if you can, because that's going to make it a lot easier to solder later on. At this point, add a dash of hot glue just to keep your wire in place when you solder, and also keep it from moving later on. Now, solder the wire to the point you just scraped off. What I ended up doing was to isolate just one wire from the rest of the cable because it would be thin enough to hit the point, because these points are really tiny. Now, locate this ground right here and solder your other wire to it. Unscrew the screw, put back the battery tray, put your battery back in place. At this point, you just want to make sure everything is working as it should. Now, find your button. Because this button has 4 pins, I'm going to be drilling 4 tiny holes. First, I would drill a pilot hole, and then use the other pins on the button as a reference to where to drill the rest. Add a bit of hot glue to the button and push the button in place. Make sure you push the button far enough in so that the pins come out on the other side. If you want the button to be more flush, you could probably use a Dremel or something just to make it fit even better. Now solder the wires onto the button. If you're using a tactile button like me, you want to solder the two opposite corners, because that's how the button works. You should use some hot glue to make sure the cable will stay in place. Remember to also put the little microphone piece back in place. Now it's time to put the cover back in place, and this should slide on fairly easily. If you feel much resistance when putting the cover on, make sure you're not pinching any wires anywhere. Now just squeeze the controller all over to make sure all the clips pop in place. Now insert the 2 screws in the back. Now grab this black cover piece with the pointy parts first and just work your way down until it snaps in place. Put back the 2 screws in the front as well. And last, snap your R1 and L1 button back in place. And we are done. And this really works great. I've been using this for a few months already on my other controller and I'm super happy that I did it. I have never regretted doing this. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider leaving a like or becoming a subscriber if you enjoyed this video.